council chamber looked like the inside of a cathedral built by gods who understood infinity. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood in the center of a sphere 3 kilometers wide, suspended in a field that held him perfectly still while gravity pulled at his stomach. Above, below, and all around him, representatives from 200 alien species watched from their environmental pods. Some breathed methane. Others lived in liquid nitrogen. A few existed as pure energy contained in magnetic bottles. All of them wanted Earth destroyed. Marcus felt blood trickling down his face from where the guards had struck him during the arrest. They had pulled him from his quarters without warning, without charges, without even the basic diplomatic courtesy that every species received. He hung there in his torn suit, looking up at the being who held his world's fate in its clawed hands. High Arbiter Thelos rose from the central platform, its insect body gleaming under lights that cycled through spectrums human eyes could barely process. 4 mandibles clicked together as it spoke, Chamber's translation system turning the sounds into words that echoed from every direction. The colony world Refuge 9 no longer exists. 7,000 Cliveran civilians died when the planet's atmosphere was ignited. The weapon used carried human quantum signatures. Earth stands accused of genocide. The word hung in the air like a blade. Marcus tested the restraint field, found it absolute, and forced himself to breathe slowly. Stay calm. Think. They wanted him panicked and defensive. That was the first clue something was wrong. When did the attack occur? Marcus asked. Thelos' compound eyes refracted the question into 1,000 images of Marcus's bloodied face. 14 hours ago, as your intelligence services surely informed you. And when did your guards arrest me? 16 hours ago, for preliminary questioning regarding before it happened. Marcus let the words settle. You arrested me before 7,000 people died, which means you knew the attack was coming. Which means someone in this chamber watched it happen and did nothing. The sphere erupted. Whistles, clicks, subsonic rumbles, and electromagnetic pulses of outrage flooded the translation system. Delegates rose from their pods, gesturing with limbs and appendages that ranged from tentacles to crystalline structures that resonated with meaning. Thelos raised all 4 of its primary arms. The chamber fell silent with a speed that suggested fear more than respect. You dare accuse this council of... I accuse someone of mass murder and framing Earth for it. Marcus kept his voice level despite his racing heart. Show me the weapon's signature analysis. A hologram materialized in the air, spinning slowly. Technical readouts in a dozen languages scrolled past, all showing the same thing. Human quantum drive emissions. Earth fusion reactor signatures. The fingerprints of human technology scattered across a dead world. Marcus studied the data, his enhanced neural implant processing numbers faster than his conscious mind could follow. The technology was standard military issue, implanted in all diplomats after Earth joined the Council 18 years ago. It let humans compete with species who had evolved naturally. Superior processing speeds. They're a discrepancy so small that whoever faked this had hoped nobody would notice. Quantum decay rate is wrong, Marcus said. By 0.03%. An insignificant margin of error, Thelos replied. Not in human engineering. Our quantum drives decay at exactly the rate our fusion cores produce. That's basic physics. This signature decays too slowly, which means someone built a weapon meant to look like ours, but got the engineering slightly wrong. Silence spread through the chamber like ice forming on water. A Cleaveron admiral rose, its scales rippling with colors that suggested rage. This is desperate deflection. Your species has shown nothing but aggression since joining the Council. Border violations, unauthorized military buildups, refusal to share technology. We share what we're required to share, Marcus said, just like every other species does. And our border violations were inside territory the Council granted us. We were exercising legal rights. You were testing our defenses, the Admiral snapped back. We were making sure you weren't planning to attack us. Turns out we were right to be paranoid. The chamber exploded again, but Marcus noticed something this time. Certain delegates kept glancing at each other, coordinating. They had practiced these accusations, rehearsed this confrontation. This wasn't a trial. It was a performance. Marcus felt a subtle vibration through his wrist communicator, so faint that only his neural implant detected it. A prearranged signal from Earth. His government was watching this farce, and they had activated something. He just had to buy them time. "Hi, Arbiter," Marcus said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "I invoke Article 72 of the Council Charter. Earth demands a full investigation before any judgment is rendered." Thelos' mandibles went still. Article 72 was ancient law, rarely used because it required the accusing party to open their own records for examination. But it also froze all proceedings until the investigation concluded. "You would delay justice for the dead?" Thelos asked. "I would delay an execution based on fabricated evidence. Unless you're afraid of what an investigation might find." The High Arbiter's compound eyes seemed too dim. It was a tell Marcus had learned to recognize. Thelos was afraid. "Very well. The Council will convene an investigative committee. You will remain in custody pending. I invoke diplomatic immunity. You arrested me before the crime occurred, which means you violated Council law. I'm returning to the human delegation quarters." That is exactly how the law works, High Arbiter. Unless you want to admit you arrested me illegally, in which case this entire proceeding becomes void. Marcus watched Thelos calculate the angles, saw the moment the alien realized it was trapped. If the High Arbiter admitted the arrest was illegal, the case collapsed. If it claimed the arrest was legal, it had to explain how Marcus was arrested before the crime happened. "You will be confined to delegation quarters under guard," Thelos finally said. "Acceptable." Marcus felt the restraint. Field release. He dropped half a meter before catching himself, his legs shaky from hanging motionless for 3 hours. Blood had dried on his face. His shoulder throbbed where the guards had dislocated it. But he kept his expression neutral, as guards escorted him toward the exit. Marcus glanced up one more time at the tiers of alien faces. Somewhere in this chamber were conspirators planning Earth's destruction. They had killed 7,000 civilians just to frame humanity for genocide, but they had made one critical mistake. They assumed Earth would play by civilized rules. They assumed humans would trust the system. They had no idea that 43 of humanity's deadliest operatives had been hiding in this station for the past 3 days, invisible to every sensor the galaxy possessed. They had been watching, listening, and recording everything. Earth's shadows were already here, moving through the dark spaces between alien security sweeps. And they were about to prove that humanity's greatest strength was not superior technology or diplomatic skill. It was the absolute certainty that everyone was. Lying Director Olivia Grant stood in the operations center beneath Geneva, watching 6 holographic displays simultaneously. Her neural implant processed the data streams faster than any organic brain should manage. A side effect of the military enhancements she had received 20 years ago, when humanity first realized they were not alone in the universe. Webb invoked Article 72. Lieutenant David Torres reported from his station. That buys us 72 hours before the Council can proceed. Not enough time. Olivia pulled up the star chart showing Council space. If this is a coordinated conspiracy, they'll have contingencies. Military assets positioned to move the moment Webb's immunity expires. Surveillance satellites detect fleet movements near Clivern space. 3 battle groups. Officially listed as training exercises, pointed at Earth. Livia highlighted the trajectory lines. They're not even hiding it anymore. On another screen, intelligence reports scrolled past. Border incidents with human colonies. Trade disputes that had turned violent. Diplomatic insults that seemed designed to provoke. Every interaction over the past year, viewed through the lens of paranoia, painted a clear picture. Someone wanted Earth gone. How many species are involved? Olivia asked. Torres pulled up the analysis. Confirmed. 4. Probable. 15? Possible? Half the Council. The conspiracy goes deep, Director. This isn't a rogue operation. This is organized. Olivia had expected this. Hoped she was wrong, but expected it. Humanity had entered the galactic stage too quickly, advanced too fast, refused to bow properly to established powers. They had made enemies simply by existing. Status on shadow cores? Captain Rachel Stone reports all units deployed and operational. They've been in position at Council headquarters for 68 hours. No detection incidents. Livia allowed herself a small smile. Shadow cores was humanity's darkest secret, the program that officially did not exist. When Earth had joined the Council, they had sworn to maintain no covert military operations in Council space. They had lied every human diplomat, every trade envoy. Every cultural exchange included at least one Shadow Corps operative. They wore suits that bent light and fooled sensors, carried weapons that left no traces, and trained in techniques designed to defeat alien security systems. The rest of the galaxy thought humanity was just another species learning to navigate interstellar politics. They had no idea Earth had been preparing for betrayal from day one. Activate Protocol Midnight, Olivia said. Torres hesitated. Director, that's a full intelligence offensive. If we're detected, we're already being framed for genocide. David, if they're going to destroy us anyway, I want to know who gave the order and why. Olivia pulled up the authorization codes. Shadow Corps has 72 hours to find proof of the conspiracy. Tell Captain Stone that mission parameters have changed. They are authorized to go active if necessary. Active operations in Council headquarters. Torres looked shocked. That's an act of war. So is framing us for mass murder. Olivia entered the codes, watched them propagate through quantum-encrypted channels to operatives scattered across the galaxy. Earth doesn't start wars, David, but we finish them. 8,000 light-years away, Captain Rachel Stone received the authorization codes. She stood in a maintenance corridor that did not appear on any Council schematic, having discovered it 17 hours into the infiltration. Her team had spent 3 days mapping the station's true layout, finding all the places security sensors did not quite reach. Command has authorized active operations, Rachel told her team through quantum-encrypted communications. We're going loud if we have to. James Cato, her second-in-command, materialized beside her as his camouflage suit powered down to minimum. About time. I've been watching these aliens plan genocide for 3 days. Gets old just observing. We observe until we have proof. Then we act. Rachel pulled up the tactical map on her helmet display. I want surveillance on every delegate who voted to condemn Earth. Full communications intercepts. Bank records. Travel logs. Everything. The team split into cells, each targeting different sections of the vast station. Rachel led her group toward the one place every conspiracy required. The place where money moved and deals were made. The financial hub. Getting there meant crossing through the diplomatic quarters, past guards from a dozen species all watching for threats. But Shadow Corps did not move like threats. They moved like shadows, like glitches in the sensor grid. Like the moment of doubt before you turn around because you felt someone watching, Rachel paused at an intersection, letting an 8-legged harsh security patrol pass within 2 meters. The aliens' thermal sensors swept the corridor, seeing nothing but ambient heat and empty space. Human camouflage technology was not better than alien sensors. It was just different, built on principles that did not occur to species who evolved without predators. Clear, Rachel whispered. Moving forward, the financial hub occupied 3 levels of the station's core, protected by security measures designed to stop armies. Quantum locks. Biometric scanners. Armed guards with weapons that could vaporize matter. All of it focused outward, watching for external threats. None of it designed to stop someone already inside. Technician Mira. Wolf approached the main data trunk, her hands steady despite the 6-meter drop on either side of the narrow maintenance platform. She placed a device no larger than a coin against the crystalline data conduit, watched it sink in and disappear as programmed nanobots burrowed into the alien technology. Connection established, Mira reported. Holy hell. These systems are unencrypted. What? Rachel moved closer, careful to maintain balance on the narrow platform. The Council species had been at peace so long they stopped encrypting internal communications. Everything's just flowing through raw data streams. Myra's fingers danced across her forearm display. I'm seeing financial transfers. millions of credits moving between accounts. And look at the routing codes. They're using diplomatic channels to hide money movement. Rachel watched the data scroll past. Payment to a Cliveran admiral. Transfer to a shell company registered in neutral space. Withdrawal coordinated with a vote on human trade restrictions. The pattern was clear once you saw it. They've been planning this for years, Rachel said. Every incident with Earth, every diplomatic failure, it was all orchestrated. They've been building a case for our elimination since we joined the Council. But why? One of her team asked. Myra pulled up another file. Technology assessment reports. They've been modeling human advancement rates. At our current development speed, we'll match their most advanced species in 50 years. Exceed them in a century. They're not judging us for what we've done. They're eliminating us for what we'll become. Rachel felt cold certainty settle into her bones. This was not about justice or law. This was about fear. The galaxy's established powers looking at humanity's rapid advancement and deciding to cut the problem off before it threatened their dominance. Download everything, Rachel ordered. Financial records, communication logs, military orders. I want a complete picture of this conspiracy. Across the station, other Shadow Corps teams were making similar discoveries. Sergeant Thomas Brooks watched through his rifle scope as 3 admirals from different species met in a supposedly secure conference room, discussing fleet movements designed to blockade Earth. Corporal Lisa Park intercepted communications between High Arbiter Thelos and a Cliveran intelligence officer, coordinating Webb's arrest timing. Every cell reported back to Rachel with more pieces of the puzzle. The conspiracy was not small. It was not limited to a few rogue species. This was systematic, organized, and approved at the highest levels of galactic government. Rachel compiled the data, her neural implant organizing terabytes of evidence into a coherent narrative. When she finished, she understood exactly what Earth faced. Command, this is Stone. We have confirmation. The trial is a setup. The Refuge 9 attack was committed by Cliveran military using staged human technology signatures. The conspiracy involves 15 species and 3 of the 5 High Arbiters. Recommend immediate diplomatic escalation. Director Grant's response came through after a 2-second light delay. Continue gathering evidence. We need to know the full extent before we make our move. Webb is buying us time. Use it. Rachel acknowledged and turned to her team. They were ghosts in the machine now, invisible observers watching the galaxy's powers plot humanity's destruction. But ghosts could become something else when necessary. They could become knives in the dark. Ambassador. Marcus Webb sat in his quarters under guard, watching the diplomatic channels explode with arguments about Earth's fate. The translation algorithms could barely keep up as species debated humanity's future in 1,000 languages. Some called for immediate military action. Others urged caution. A few, very few, suggested that maybe the evidence was too convenient. Those few were the smart ones. Marcus touched the bruise on his ribs. The guards had struck him. The medical scanner and his neural implant reported to cracked ribs, a dislocated shoulder that he had popped back into place himself, and a mild concussion. All treatable, all painful, all sending a clear message. The Council wanted him hurt and afraid. They misunderstood humans if they thought pain bred fear. It bred anger. Ambassador Webb. The voice came from his door guard, a harsh warrior whose crystalline structure glowed with inner light. You have a visitor. Human diplomatic staff. We will allow a 10-minute consultation. The door opened, and a young woman entered, carrying a datapad and wearing the standard gray uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. Marcus did not recognize her, which was suspicious because he knew every human assigned to Council headquarters. Ambassador. I'm diplomatic aide Jennifer Blake from the Earth delegation, she said, her voice perfectly professional. I've been authorized to brief you on developments back home. The door closed. Jennifer's expression did not change, but her right hand made a subtle gesture, 3 fingers up, then closed to a fist. Shadow Corps' identification signal. Marcus nodded slightly, touching his ear. Listening devices disabled. Report, he said quietly. Captain Stone's team has been operational for 73 hours. We've confirmed the conspiracy involves 15 species, including High Arbiter Thelos. The Refuge 9 attack was staged using stolen human technology blueprints and reverse-engineered quantum drives. The Cliveran military executed their own civilians to frame Earth. Marcus felt sick. 7,000 people murdered just to create a pretext. The conspirators believe humanity represents an existential threat to galactic stability. Our technology advances too quickly. Our military tactics are unpredictable. Our diplomatic approach does not conform to established patterns. They're eliminating a potential rival before we become too powerful to stop. How much proof do we have? Jennifer pulled a data chip from her pad, no larger than a grain of rice. Financial records, communication, intercepts, military orders, and full sensor logs from Refuge 9 showing Cliveran ships in orbit during the attack. Everything you need to prove the conspiracy. Marcus took the chip, held it up to the light. This tiny piece of technology contained proof that could shatter the galactic order. It also painted a target on Earth's back that would never go away. When Stone's team went active, they showed every species in the Council that human intelligence operations are more sophisticated than anyone suspected. We've been underestimated. That ends today. What's the plan? You present the evidence during the investigation hearing in 48 hours. We coordinate the reveal to maximum effect. Stones. Tay. AM will simultaneously transmit the full data dump to every council delegate, every news service, and every independent world. By the time Thelos realizes what's happening, the conspiracy will be public knowledge. Marcus smiled despite the pain in his ribs. They're going to hate us for this. They already hate us, sir. Now they'll also fear us. Jennifer left after exactly 10 minutes, her departure as unremarkable as her arrival. The Hosh guard checked that nothing had been passed, found nothing suspicious, and resumed his post. He never saw the data chip that Marcus had palmed, never detected the encrypted communication burst that confirmed delivery, Captain. Rachel Stone watched from the shadows as Jennifer Blake exited Webb's quarters. The younger operative had performed perfectly, infiltrating the diplomatic staff 2 years ago with a cover identity so deep that even Council intelligence accepted it. That was the thing about Shadow Corps. They played the long game. Webb has the evidence, Rachel reported to her team. Phase 2 begins in 48 hours. Until then, we maintain surveillance and prepare for extraction, James Cato asked. We're leaving? The moment Webb presents evidence, this station becomes a combat zone. Every species in that conspiracy will want to silence him before the truth spreads. We need to be ready to fight our way out. Rachel pulled up the tactical overview. Shadow Corps had mapped every corridor, every escape route, every potential ambush point. They knew where the station's structural weaknesses were, which airlocks could be manually overridden, which species security forces were competent versus theatrical. They had spent 3 days learning how to kill everyone on this station if necessary. I don't like it, Myra Wolf said, studying the defensive positions. Even with surprise and superior training, we're 43 operators against a station with 10,000 security personnel. The math doesn't work. The math never works for humans, Rachel replied. That's why we win. We fight asymmetrically. We exploit assumptions. We make them afraid of the dark. For the next 2 days, Shadow Corps prepared for war. They cached weapons in hidden locations throughout the station. They identified sympathetic species whose delegates had opposed Earth's condemnation and established covert communication channels. They planted surveillance devices in the council chamber itself, ready to broadcast everything that happened, and they waited. Marcus spent those days recovering from his injuries and rehearsing his presentation. The evidence was damning but needed to be presented carefully. Too aggressive, and he would seem like the conspiracy theorist they wanted to portray. Too passive, and the accusations would be dismissed. He practiced in front of a mirror, watching his expressions, controlling his anger. The human delegation brought him fresh clothes to replace his torn suit. They smuggled in painkillers for his ribs. They offered support and quiet rage at what had been done to him. They're going to fight this, warned Daniel Foster, Earth's chief diplomatic advisor. Even with proof, the conspirators will claim the evidence is fabricated. They'll say you manufactured it to escape justice. Let them, Marcus replied. Because the moment they accuse Earth of faking evidence, Captain Stone's team will demonstrate exactly how long we've been inside their most secure facility. That's when fear becomes leverage. On the morning of the investigation hearing, Marcus stood before his mirror one last time. The bruises had faded to yellow and green. They were still visible. Good. Let the council see what their justice looked like. He touched the data chip in his pocket, felt its weight like carrying a grenade. This would either save Earth or start a war that would span the galaxy. Either way, humanity would not go quietly into extinction. Rachel Stone watched from the shadows of the council chamber as delegates filed in for the hearing. Her team was positioned throughout the vast space, invisible to sensors, armed and ready. If this went wrong, they had 17 different extraction plans ranging from subtle to catastrophic. All units. Sound off, Rachel whispered into the quantum com. One by one. Her operatives confirmed positions. They were ready. Marcus Webb entered the chamber, walking without guards this time. His diplomatic immunity had been restored pending the investigation. He moved to the central platform, standing in the same spot where he had hung in restraints 4 days ago. High Arbiter Thelos looked down at him, mandibles clicking with what might have been satisfaction. The alien believed it had one. Believed that humanity would be broken by fear and isolation. It had no idea that the shadows had been watching all along. The investigation committee has reviewed preliminary evidence, Thelos announced. We are prepared to hear Earth's defense. Marcus pulled the data chip from his pocket, held it up for all to see. I'm not here to defend Earth, he said quietly. I'm here to expose which of you tried to destroy us. He inserted the chip into the chamber's central database, and hell came to the council. The data erupted across every display in the council chamber simultaneously. Financial records scrolling past in streams of numbers. Communication intercepts playing audio from a dozen species. Military orders marked with official seals and classified timestamps. Sensor logs showing Clivern warships in orbit above Refuge 9 when the planet died. For 5 seconds, silence held the chamber. Then chaos exploded like a bomb going off. High Arbiter Thalos surged upward, its mandibles spread in shock. This is a violation of what? Marcus interrupted, his voice amplified across the vast space. Violation of your conspiracy? Your plan to commit genocide and blame it on Earth? Which law exactly did I break by discovering your murderers? Delegates were screaming in their pods, their translation coming through as a cacophony of rage and accusation. But Marcus noticed something important. They were not all angry at him. Some were turning on each other, ancient alliances fracturing as the evidence made allies into accomplices. This evidence is fabricated, a Clivern admiral shouted. Human intelligence could never penetrate Council security systems. This is a desperate fabrication. Then explain the timestamp codes, Marcus replied calmly. Every piece of data carries verification markers built into Council systems. Unless I somehow hacked your entire network, that evidence is authentic. Possible, Thelos said, but its voice carried uncertainty now. No species has ever breached Council security. Our systems are designed by the greatest minds in the galaxy, are they? Marcus smiled, and it was not friendly. Because I've been standing here for 15 minutes? And in that time, my people have been listening to everything you say, watching everything you do? From positions inside this very chamber? The statement hit like a physical blow. Delegates looked around wildly, their various sensory organs sweeping the space for threats they could not detect. You're lying, Thelos said. Am I? Marcus raised his hand, made a subtle gesture. Throughout the chamber, 43 Shadow Corps operatives disengaged their camouflage systems for exactly 2 seconds. Long enough for every sensor to register their signatures? Long enough for security to see armed humans, standing within killing distance of the galaxy's most powerful beings. Then they vanished again, leaving only screaming alarms and panicked delegates. In the chaos, Rachel Stone watched as her worst-case scenarios started unfolding. Security forces from 24 species mobilized simultaneously. None of them coordinating, all of them armed and trigger-happy. This was how friendly fire incidents became massacres. "All units hold position," Rachel ordered. "Do not engage unless fired upon." A Cliveran security team burst into the chamber, their weapons charged and scanning for targets they could not find. A Hosh patrol entered from another entrance, their crystalline bodies glowing with combat readiness. Within seconds, 30 different species security forces were flooding into the chamber, and none of them were communicating with each other. "We need to extract Webb now," James Cato said through the com. "This is about to become a bloodbath." Rachel calculated angles, assessed the tactical situation, made the call. "Negative. Webb stays. The moment we pull him, the conspiracy wins. They blame everything on human aggression in Glass Earth tomorrow. Then what do? We prove we're not the enemy." Rachel switched to open broadcast, her voice transmitted to every security force in the chamber. "Attention all Council security. This is Captain Rachel Stone. Earth Shadow Course. We are not hostile. We are intelligence operatives who have been monitoring this station for criminal conspiracy. We are armed but will not fire unless fired upon. Your actual enemy is in this chamber wearing diplomatic immunity." She highlighted Thelos and 14 other delegates on the security networks, tagging them with the evidence of their conspiracy. For a moment, confusion reigned. Then one security commander, a veteran Meridian whose species had voted against Earth's condemnation, made a decision. "All units stand down," the Meridian broadcast. "Secure the accused delegates for questioning. Earth operatives, maintain position, but do not interfere." It was not a perfect solution, but it was better than mutual slaughter. Security forces began surrounding the conspirators instead of searching for invisible humans. Delegates who had voted with the conspiracy tried to flee. Found exits blocked by armed guards from species it thought were allies. Marcus watched the chaos from the center platform, standing perfectly still while the galaxy's order collapsed. D around him. He caught Rachel's eye, saw her nod from a shadow that sensors insisted was empty. Shadow Cores had his back. High Arbiter Thelos tried to escape through its private exit, only to find the door sealed. James Cato had been sitting in Thelos' personal corridor for 72 hours, waiting for exactly this moment. "Going somewhere?" James asked, his voice coming from empty air. Thelos spun, its compound eyes trying to focus on the invisible threat. "You cannot arrest a High Arbiter. I have absolute immunity. You had immunity. Right up until you committed treason against the Council itself." James appeared briefly, just long enough for Thelos to see the weapon aimed at its primary brain cluster. "You're done." Security forces swarmed in, restraining Thelos with electromagnetic bonds designed for dangerous criminals. The High Arbiter struggled briefly, and went still as it realized the game was over. In the Council chamber, delegates were calling for order, for explanations, for someone to make sense of the chaos. A senior ambassador from the Hosh Collective took temporary control, their calm voice cutting through the panic. "This session is suspended pending full investigation of the evidence presented. All delegates will submit to security interviews. The accused will be held in detention pending trial." And the Hosh looked directly at where Rachel stood hidden. "Earth operatives will report to the security office for debriefing." "That's a polite way of saying arrest us," Mira Wolf muttered. "No," Rachel replied. "That's a polite way of saying they want to talk terms. We just proved we can infiltrate their most secure facility, expose their deepest conspiracies, and vanish before they blink. They're not going to arrest us. They're going to negotiate." Marcus stepped down from the platform, his role in this drama finished. He walked toward the human delegation area, passing security forces who eyed him warily, but made no move to stop him. The evidence spoke for itself. Earth had been framed. The conspiracy was real, and humanity had just demonstrated capabilities that terrified every species in the galaxy. Ambassador Webb, the Meridian security commander, approached him. "On behalf of those of us who opposed your condemnation, I apologize. We should have questioned the evidence more carefully. You should have, Marcus agreed. But you didn't because you trusted the system. That's the difference between your species and mine. We never trust the system. We assume everyone is lying and prepare accordingly. It's a dark way to live. It's how we stayed alive long enough to reach the stars. Over the next 6 hours, the council station descended into controlled chaos. Conspirators were arrested and questioned. Evidence was verified by independent analysts. News of the scandal spread across the galactic networks, reaching 1,000 worlds in minutes, and in a small conference room far from the main chamber, Earth's delegation sat down with representatives from 12 species who had opposed the conspiracy. Director Olivia Grant had arrived from Earth, her shuttle carrying diplomatic credentials and enough military backup to evacuate the entire human delegation if necessary. She sat across from the Hosh Collective's senior ambassador, both of them exhausted and angry. "You violated every security protocol we have," the ambassador said bluntly. "You spied on us. You infiltrated our headquarters. You proved that our most secure facility is not secure at all." "Yes," Olivia agreed. "You've made half the council paranoid that Earth has operatives everywhere. Watching everything they do, we do." The Hosh ambassador's thermal signature flickered with what might have been amusement. "At least you're honest about it. That's something. We're honest about what we need to be honest about. Everything else is operational security." Olivia pulled up a star chart. "Let's be clear about what just happened. 15 species conspired to destroy Earth because we advance too quickly and don't conform to expected patterns. They murdered 7,000 of their own citizens to frame us. That conspiracy included 3 high arbiters and reached the highest levels of galactic government. We're aware. Then you're also aware that Earth can never trust the Council again. Not completely. Not without verification." Olivia leaned forward. "You can expel us and watch us become an isolated power that grows more paranoid and militaristic every year. Or you can accept that humanity plays by different rules and find a way to work with us." The Hosh ambassador was silent for a long moment. Then it pulled up a document, official council language flowing across the display. "The conspiracy is broken. Thelos and its collaborators will face trial and punishment. The council will be reformed with new leadership. And in that reorganization, there will be a vote for additional permanent arbiter positions." The ambassador paused. "We're offering Earth a seat at the table. Full council membership with permanent status. Disclosure of your shadow operations. Not details, but acknowledgement. And oversight. A committee of species you choose who receive regular reports that you're not planning to infiltrate or undermine member worlds." Olivia considered it. Earth would gain real political power in galactic affairs. But they would have to admit that shadow cores existed, which meant losing some of their advantage. "Limited disclosure," Olivia countered. "We acknowledge having intelligence operations. We provide quarterly reports to an oversight committee of 3 species we select. But operational details, personnel, and methods remain classified." "What?" That's the deal. "You get assurance that we're not plotting against you. We keep the advantage that just saved our planet from genocide." Olivia's expression hardened. "You want to know the truth? Shadow cores will always exist. The choice is whether you acknowledge it and accept oversight or pretend it doesn't exist and stay paranoid." The negotiations continued for another 4 hours, but the outcome was inevitable. Earth had proven it could not be controlled, could not be monitored, and would not be eliminated. The only option was partnership on humanity's terms. 2 weeks after the council chamber exploded with revelation, Marcus Webb stood on the observation deck of Earth's diplomatic station, looking at the planet below. Geneva sparkled with lights, the Alps rising in the distance like ancient guardians. Home, still intact. Still free. "You look tired," Olivia Grant said, joining him at the viewport. "I got beaten, arrested, accused of genocide, and then had to watch the galaxy's political order collapse. I'm exhausted, but alive. Earth is alive. That counts for something." Olivia pulled up her datapad, showing him the final vote tallies. Council ratified the new charter 3 hours ago. Earth is now a permanent member with full arbiter status. We have actual power in galactic affairs. and we only had to prove we could destroy their security, expose their conspiracies, and make them terrified of what else we might be hiding. Marcus smiled without humor. Some victory. It's the victory we could get. The galaxy knows now that humanity doesn't play by their rules. We're unpredictable, paranoid, and dangerous when cornered. That's not friendship, but it's respect. What happened to the conspirators? The O's got life imprisonment in a diplomatic detention facility. The other High Arbiters were stripped of rank and exiled. The 15 species involved are facing sanctions and political isolation. The Cliveran admiral who ordered the Refuge 9 attack was executed by his own government as a gesture of atonement. Olivier paused. 7,000 people died to frame us, Marcus. The galaxy won't forget that, and neither will we. Should feel like justice. Doesn't, though, because we know the truth. This wasn't an isolated conspiracy. This is how galactic politics works. Alliances shift. Species compete. The strong prey on the weak when they think they can get away with it. Olivia turned to face him. We survived because we never trusted them. We prepared for betrayal from the moment we joined the council. And when betrayal came, we were ready. Will they try again? Eventually. Not the same way, but someone will decide humanity is too dangerous to coexist with. They'll build a new conspiracy, find new allies, develop new strategies. Olivia smiled coldly. And Shadow Cores will be watching. Always watching. Far above Earth, a stealth transport detached from the diplomatic station and activated its quantum drive. Inside, Captain Rachel Stone and her team prepared for their next deployment. The mission boards were already filling with new assignments. We're heroes now, apparently, James Cato said, reading the official commendation from Earth Defense Command. Saved humanity from genocide. They want to give us medals. They want to give medals to people who officially don't exist, Rachel asked. Hence the apparently. Rachel looked at her team. These 43 men and women who had spent 3 days in enemy territory, invisible and alone, gathering evidence that saved their world. They deserved recognition. They would never get it. That was the price of working in shadows. The council wants oversight of our operations, Rachel told them. Quarterly reports to a committee. Limited disclosure of our activities. How limited? Mira Wolf asked. We tell them we exist. We tell them generally what we're doing. We don't tell them where, when, or how. Rachel pulled up the new mission parameters. Earth has permanent council status now. That means we're legitimate players in galactic politics. But it also means we're targets. Every species that opposed us will be watching for weakness. Every conspiracy that failed will spawn new ones. Oh, so we keep doing what we've been doing. James S. Aid. Exactly. We watch. We listen. We prepare. And when the next threat emerges, we're already in position to stop it. The transport jumped to quantum space, leaving Earth behind. They had missions waiting across the galaxy. Trade negotiations that might be covers for intelligence gathering. Diplomatic summits where shadows could observe things said in private. Border disputes where humanity's interests needed protecting without official involvement. Shadow Cores would be there, invisible and ready. Back on Earth, in the underground operations center beneath Geneva, Director Olivia Grant pulled up the galaxy map. Red dots showed hostile powers. Yellow showed neutral. Green showed the handful of species who had supported Earth during the conspiracy. There was far more red than green. Show me our operational deployments. Olivia ordered. New markers appeared on the map. Shadow Corps teams in 50 different systems. Intelligence operatives embedded in alien governments. Surveillance networks, monitoring council, communications. Humanity's invisible presence spread across the galaxy like a web. We're never going back to Earth alone and vulnerable, Olivia said quietly. The conspiracy taught us that we can't rely on galactic law or diplomatic agreements. The only security is our own vigilance. Lieutenant David Torres approached with new intelligence reports. The Cliveran Empire is in political upheaval. The Admiral's execution sparked protests. They're blaming Earth for their internal instability. Of course they are. We exposed their genocide. Much easier to blame us than accept responsibility. Livia marked the Cliveran systems on her map. Increased surveillance on their government communications. I want to know if they're planning retaliation. That could be seen as aggressive intelligence gathering. Everything we do is aggressive intelligence gathering. David, that's the point. The galaxy knows we're watching now. Let them adjust to the new reality. Over the following weeks, the galactic order slowly stabilized into a new configuration. Species that had been allies for centuries reassessed their relationships. Trade agreements were renegotiated with new security clauses. Border disputes that had simmered for decades suddenly became urgent as everyone tried to secure their positions in the changing landscape, and humanity sat at the council table as full members, participating in debates about interstellar law, contributing to collective security initiatives, and generally acting like responsible galactic citizens, while Shadow Cores watched from the darkness. Marcus Webb returned to diplomatic duties, representing Earth at council sessions with the same professionalism he had always shown. But there was a difference now. When he spoke, delegates listened. When Earth raised concerns, they were taken seriously. The species that had tried to destroy humanity now treated them with wary respect. Ambassador Webb. A Cliveran delegate approached him after a session, its scales showing colors of formal apology. My government wishes to extend official regrets for the conspiracy. We were manipulated by our military leadership. Your government murdered 7,000 of its own citizens to frame my species for genocide. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to their families. If you can find any who survived your military's efficiency. The delegate retreated, chastened. Marcus felt no satisfaction. The dead stayed dead regardless of apologies or political restructuring. Olivia found him later, standing alone on an observation platform overlooking the council station's central plaza. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species moved through the space below, conducting the business of galactic civilization. You did well in there, Olivia said. I was rude to a delegate trying to make amends. You're honest. That's worth more. Olivia watched the crowds below. We're part of this now, Marcus. Really part of it. Not just provisional members hoping to be accepted. We have power, influence, and the respect that comes from proving we can't be eliminated easily. And the fear that comes from proving we've been spying on everyone. Fear and respect are close cousins in galactic politics. We'll take both. Marcus turned to face her. Was it worth it? Everything we had to do? The people who died? The paranoia? And the lies? And the endless watching? Olivia considered the question carefully. 7 billion humans are alive on Earth today because Shadow Cores was watching when the conspiracy formed, because we didn't trust the system, because we prepared for betrayal before it arrived. Was that worth 43 operatives living in shadows? Worth the moral compromise of constant surveillance? She paused. Yes, every time. Without hesitation, that's a dark philosophy. It's a survival philosophy, and it works. Olivia pulled up her communicator, checking operational reports from across the galaxy. The universe is hostile, Marcus. Species compete for resources, territory, and dominance. Laws and treaties are useful until they're not. The only real security comes from strength and vigilance, and being scary enough that nobody wants to test us. Exactly. They stood together in silence, watching the galaxy's civilizations conduct their eternal dance of cooperation and competition. Earth was part of it now, a full player in the great game. And somewhere in the shadows between stars, Shadow Cores watched over humanity's interests with absolute dedication and zero mercy. The conspiracy had failed. Earth survived. And the galaxy learned that humans were not like other species. They did not trust easily, forgive readily, or forget quickly. They assumed the worst and prepared accordingly. They fought with weapons and tactics that did not occur to species who had evolved in different circumstances. They were dangerous, unpredictable, and absolutely committed to survival. The galaxy would adjust to this new reality, or it would learn what happened when humans felt genuinely threatened. Either way, Earth's shadows would be there, watching from the dark spaces where sensors did not quite reach, because humanity had learned its most important lesson long before reaching the stars. In a universe of predators, the only safety came from being the thing that hunted in the night, the thing that arrived before anyone knew danger was coming, the shadows that moved. While the galaxy was still blinking in confusion, two retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.